Now you are audible, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I hope everybody is hale and hearty, and we are going to start the session in another 2 minutes. And in today's session, we are going to talk about what not to do in the listening section pertaining to be the major mistakes that people or students commit and they should steer clear from. So, in the meantime, let me just share the PPT also. Okay. So listening section is again, if you ask me, it's one of the easiest and most scoring sections only because of the thing that you just have to write down what you hear without really interpreting much. There's no scope of you trying to like understand much because then the questions are already given to you. You just have to listen to the question, sorry, read the question and listen to the audio and answer. So in my opinion, listening is by far the most scoring section. The thing is, if you listen to it properly and if you see where they are putting you through, let's say, questions that are going to change the answers, there, if you listen carefully and then if you put your ears to it, listening becomes very easy. It becomes a cakewalk. So let me just share my screen now. All right. I hope that you can see the screen that I'm sharing. Okay. I think now you can see what I'm sharing on the screen. All right, so let's begin. Now there are it like goes without saying that in as we compare the rest of the modules in the listening section also, there's some things that you have to avoid, some things that you have to make sure that you actually do while listening. So we are going to discuss everything in this session. So let's commence now. All right. Now, the first thing that students do not do is follow instructions. Sometimes what happens is there's specific mention of things that the student has to do or things that the test taker has to do. For example, there in the instruction itself, they tell you how many words can you write. In the instruction also, they tell you that can you write 3 words, can you write one number, or you cannot write more than like this particular amount or count of number. Sometimes they tell you to only write one word. So if you don't follow the instructions and you write as you wish, then there are chances that you will not get the desired band scores because specifically in the listening section it is clearly mentioned in the instructions that do not write more than 3 words and or a number. That means that either you will write 3 words or you will write one number, or either you will write 3 words plus you will write one number. So in understanding the instruction is very imperative because if you don't really know what you can write and what you have to steer clear from, if you write more, of course you will still get a lower band score. So the first thing that you have to do is whenever you get a question, before the audio begins, you have to read the instructions first and also familiarize yourself with what is there in the questions. Let's say if it is a fill in the blank question, read what is before and after the blank. See if there is any term that will not change. Let's say if there is any noun, you will know that this noun will be there in the question as well as while the audio is going to be played, you will still hear it. So it will help you to be in loop and you will be able to get the answer simply by listening to the nouns. So the first thing is always read the question, and after that read what are the instructions, what you are supposed to do. If the question says you cannot write more than 2 words, if you write the third one, even if the 2 words were correct, you will straight up get a band zero. Like you will, that answer for you would be incorrect because the instructions said it. For example, if you look over here under section 4, it says write one word only. So here, if you write 2 words, naturally you will not get the band score. And also, even after let's say after between the 2 words, one word was the answer, still you will not get the band score. Still that particular question will be considered as an incorrect answer because it was clearly mentioned in the question that you cannot write more than one word. The next is section 2. If you look closely, it says write no more than 3 words and or a number. For example, 3 words plus a number is also accepted. 3 words or a number is also accepted. So here, if you write a fourth word, it's going to be incorrect. However, if you write two words, like if you feel that the answer can be completed in two words, that's not a problem. But then the moment you surpass three, it's going to be an incorrect answer. Now, here, if you look at question 5 and 6 on the top of the screen, you can see it says choose two letters. So here, if you just choose one letter, it's going to be again an incorrect answer. So remember to follow instructions. Whatever is given to you, whatever is asked from you, you actually deliver. So the first thing again here is not following instructions. Make it your key thumb rule that whenever there's going to be a question, you will always familiarize yourself with the instructions and also read the question. Okay. Now coming here over, if you look over here in the instruction, it says write only one word and or a number. So so here, if you write more than one word, it is going to be an incorrect answer. All right. Now coming to the next one. You have to realize that sometimes your answer may be correct. However, you did not write the correct spelling of it. Let's say even one alphabet was missing. Still, the whole of the answer is going to be obliterated. Still, the whole of the answer is going to be considered as an incorrect answer. So, spelling is something that you have to be very careful about. If you make spelling mistakes, again, even if it is just with an alphabet, the whole answer will be chucked off. You will not get the marks for that particular answer. So although there is no negative marking in IELTS, but if you don't write the correct spelling, that particular answer for you will be incorrect. So make sure you read the instructions, you write the correct spellings, because making spelling mistakes will definitely lead to a reduction in your band score. Now the next one. All right, so here there is an example. If you write business as buisness, it's going to be an incorrect answer. Although if you see most of the spelling is correct, there's just an incorrect spelling of one or two alphabet, but still, since it's not the correct answer, even if you knew the answer, you had it in your mind, you could not write the spelling of it, hence it will be considered as an incorrect answer. The next is environment. If you don't really know the meaning of environment, if you don't really know the spelling of environment, you know the answer, but you cannot write it down on the sheet of paper or you cannot type it on your computer screen. Still, the answer is going to be marked as incorrect. So knowing your spelling is very important. The next is a lot of people, they don't really know. These are some very commonly made errors, okay? Like people, they don't really know the spelling of beginning. They don't really know the spelling of environment. They don't know how to spell business. So making these errors will again lead to a reduction in your band score. The next is maintenance. If you don't know the spelling of maintenance, the best thing, and a lot of people ask me, I don't know the spelling of this particular term. Here, you know that you have no idea about the spelling of this word. So just use ChatGPT, use Google to learn the spellings. And sometimes you can also use chunking method. In the chunking method, we basically divide the words. For example, if you want to learn business, you can say bus in S, and that's how you basically divide the words. You make them in chunks and learn them. So spelling, you cannot do away with it. You have to know this correct spelling, because making a mistake in the spelling will lead you to not getting the desired band score, because it's going to be a prominent mistakes, and if it is a repetitive pattern, half of the answers are just they are going to go down the drain only because you did not know the spelling. So the crux of the matter is that you need to know the spelling of whatever you're writing, and you can use chunking method to learn these spellings. Okay, I hope till now it's all clear. First thing is instruction. I clearly showed you, like if it is mentioned in the question, not more than one word, writing two words, even if it contains the actual answer as the first word, still you will not really get the answer correct. And you will wonder that I knew the answer, it was correct. Because you had an addition of another word, even the correct answer went down the drain. So making sure that you have read the instruction is imperative. And then it goes without saying, if you don't really write the correct spelling, even if you knew the idea, even if you knew the term in your mind, it will still not fare you the marks that you wanted. Okay, so I hope till now it's clear. Any question till now? I hope it's clear, right? All right. Again, for me, if you're going to stay silent, I would assume that you don't really have any question and I will move forward. So let's move forward. Okay. Now, the tip over here is what you can do in order to practice the vocabulary. You know that in the IELTS Academic, there are certain topics that they will always take into consideration. So make sure that on the common topics, you write it down, you write the vocabulary, you learn the spelling, and make sure that the answers are free of spelling errors. Okay, so like let's say learn certain technological terms, learn certain, let's say, academic terms, because in IELTS Academic the vocabulary usually comes from reports, they usually come from journals. So basically these terms that are very repetitive, you should know the spelling for those. Okay, so now coming to the next one, overlooking plurals and singulars. Sometimes, if you confuse singular and plural form, it will again change the trajectory and the meaning of the answer, and hence it will lead you to get a lower band score. Because sometimes you will think that here you can use singular form, but the thing, if the question demands you to use it in the plural form and you don't do it, again, it will lead to a reduction in your band score. Let me show you with some example. Over here, if you see, for your research project, you need to include a variety of sources. Make sure you have at least one book and two journal articles. The question is, what source do you need to include in your research project? Incorrect answer would be one book and two journal articles. The correct answer, however, here will be, I'm so sorry, just a second, one book and two journal articles. The thing is, even a mistake of S, like over here, if you see one book as an incorrect answer, if you look over here, it says one book and two journal article and not articles. Here, the answer changes again because for plurals, we use ES, right? So even this frivolous mistake, this small mistake will again make the answer as incorrect, because it again makes it grammatically incorrect. And in IELTS, grammar is as important as the rest of the rest of the components that you need to keep in mind. So make sure if you are writing one, the singular form will always come. If you are writing two, plural form will come. Can you tell me, if I say I have a lot of furnitures at home, is it correct or incorrect? I have a lot of furnitures at home. Is it a correct sentence or an incorrect sentence?
It
That's
should be
correct.
lot of furniture.
That's correct. Furniture. So you should, that's correct. Very good, Isha. So you need to know the singular and you should know the plurals of the word. Thank you, Krunal. And Papiya Bhattacharya, you also gave me an answer. That's correct. So you need to know what is, we don't say scissor, we say scissors. We don't say sock, we say socks. There's a lot of animal that stay still the same. Like, for example, fish remains fish, hair remains hairs. You know, if you want to say fishes, there has to be two variety of different fishes and then it becomes fishes and not fish. So you need to know the singulars, you need to know the plurals, you need to know that one teeth is called tooth, all of these basics, because in the IELTS, these things are also taken care of. These things are also going to be there in a way or two. They are going to ask you this. And if you make a mistake, again, you will not get the desired band score. And this is why students, they say, oh, the test went great. It's these very frivolous, very small, minute mistakes that you make that lead you not getting the band score that you wanted. So over here, only the difference of S made the answer incorrect. Okay. So I hope I'm making sense. Now coming to the next one. Okay, just a second. I think this, all right, we've covered this one. All right. Now here what the next thing is, if you look over here, there's one speaker who says, on Saturday, I'm planning to visit the local markets. There's a lot of interesting stalls and I love checking out the handmade crafts and fresh produce. Now the question is, on Saturday, the speaker plans to visit the local dash. Can anyone tell the answer? Okay, you are writing it in the chat box. That's correct. Alsaba, do you want to give the answer as well?
Markets with an S.
Yes, that's correct. The speaker wants to visit the local markets.
Market,
Here, if you
not a
write,
market.
that's correct. Incorrect answer would be market, because here in the question it says, he wants to visit the local markets, not market. So here, when you hear these terms, do not get confused. Whatever is there in the audio, you simply have to emulate in the answer as well. Maybe you heard the term markets and you start thinking, okay, one person cannot go to a lot of markets, so it's incorrect, let me just change it and make it market. It's going to be an incorrect answer. So make sure that you write down what you hear. But if you know that here, if it they're talking about plurals, like we saw in the next slide, in the previous slide, there you have to include the es. If you heard it correctly, write down what was there. Okay. I hope it makes sense. Now, one thing that you have to do is you have to be very attentive in the listening section, because you know you don't really have the scope of repeating the question, or you don't really have the scope of repeating, pausing, fast forwarding the audio. So you have to be extremely attentive. So what you have to do is make sure, if the question says you can use plural, for example, if there is a scope of you using plurals in the question itself, you can play around with it. But if it is very restricted, you know that with specs we would not say spec, you know the plural of socks is still socks. Please make sure that you write the correct term, because again, the minute error of ess will again make the answer incorrect. Okay, I hope it's clear. The next is missing key information. Sometimes what happens is, when you don't, so audio is, let's say they have played the audio and they talk about dates, like let's meet on the 25th of Saturday, or let's meet, like there are some numbers that really sound similar. So if you hear it, if you don't really hear it correctly, there are chances of you making mistake. For example, 15. Sometimes when somebody says 15, a lot of people, they get confused between 15 and 50. So if you, unless and until you hear it correctly, let's say I said 15, you thought it's 50, and you write 50, again, the answer is incorrect. So make sure while listening, if you're going for computer based IELTS, most probably they are going to give you a headset and you will have your own computer. So the idea and the chance of you making an error is like reduced by tenfolds. But even in pen and paper, now I've seen that they give you they give you earphones. I'm not really sure. So check it with your test centers. Also, make sure that when you are listening to the audio, don't get swayed. Do not really listen to anything else. Do not put your attention to anything else. Just listen to the audio carefully. Because if you miss out on dates, on names, on numbers, then again you will write the incorrect answer, and hence you will not really get the desired band score. Okay, here is a speaker saying something. I want you to try and give the answer. Speaker 1 says the castle was built in the 13th century and has been restored several times. The most significant restoration occurred in 1985. So, can you write down the correct answer, all of you? What do you think is the correct answer?
What's the question? Is it 2 words or 1 word?
That's a good one. Here, there is nothing that you have to write. So, whatever comes to your mind, since we don't have any instructions, so you can just write what comes to your mind here. But yes,
So
in the
first
examination,
blank, yeah, first
yes.
blank will have 13th and second blank will have 1985 simply.
Okay, 13 and 1985. Let's say somebody has written, okay, 13 and 1985, right? So let's check the answer. The incorrect answer would be 15th century and 1980. The correct answer would be, let me see, 13th century and 1985. So see here, because you know that the answer is given, you can see the citations of everything, but there on the examination day you will not be able to see the answers or the audio, of course. So make sure when you are listening to the audio, you can write it down. And at times what happens is, if there is any information that includes dates, specifically dates, or if there is any information that contains names of a particular person, or let's say city, street, or whatever, they always repeat it. They would say, let's say, I would say my name is Elsa. So the other person would say, is it ELSA? And the next one, or let's say the other person would say, is it ELAS? Then that's the incorrect answer. So the speaker one will always correct. No, it's not ELAS, it's ELSA. So listen for the correct answer and do not make mistakes while writing the answer. Okay. All right. All right. So somebody cleared the query over here. Yes. So most probably in the listening section, oh sorry, in the speak no, if you go for pen and paper, most probably they do provide you with a headphone, but I'm pretty sure of the computer based, because you have to write everything in your own computer. So they give you noise cancelling headphones. So that's a boom that you get in computer based. But they have started including it in the pen and paper classes. All right. Now, just give. All right. Okay, now let's come to the next one. Sometimes what happens is, because we are under so much stress, we miss out on important information. Sometimes we can't really pay close attention to proper nouns and the numbers. So the pattern of the test is such that if there is a noun or if there is an inclusion of number, they will always repeat. Let's say if they are talking about a particular street, the chances are pretty high that they are going to repeat the answer. So even if you miss it one time, if it is the name of a street which is difficult to pronounce, they will always repeat it. But the thing is that make sure that you do not write the first thing that you hear. It's a very prominently it's something which is very repetitive in listening section of the IELTS, especially in the third part, where a lot of people feel it's very difficult. The answer keeps on changing. For example, let's say Isha and I we are talking, and Isha says, "Okay, the deadline of this project is 15th of August." I will say, "Yeah, it was 15th. However, it has been changed to 16th now." So if you are someone who could only hear 15th, for you the answer is still going to be 15th. However, if you did not listen this, if you could not really pay close attention to the word they said, however, it means that the answer is going to change. So for words like however, but, in contrast, well, initially, if you hear this in the audio, chances are pretty high that the answer is going to change. So make sure you do not write the first thing that you hear. Okay. All right. These are certain things that you can do for the listening section. The first is active listening. What you have to make sure, and you have to actually train your mind for it, because most of the times we can't really do it. You don't have to really fathom all of the audio. They do not expect you to remember all the minute details. What is your prime focus are the 10 questions, okay? In each part, there is going to be 10 questions. Just make yourself familiar with those 10 questions and see what needs to be done primarily in those 10 questions. Rest, everything that is there in the audio is redundant, is something as an extra information, and you are not supposed to learn everything, okay? So the first thing is, make every time they give you some time to make yourself familiar with the question, you actually read the question, see if you can predict an answer. Because if, let's say, if they are asking you about a street, so the answer will not. And then the next is, when you are practicing, make sure you are practicing from the source which is official, not any random source, because IELTS questions are really, they follow a pattern. Although the type of question is very constant, the way they come might change. So you should be familiar with the kinds of questions there are. The next is, check the context. For example, if, let's say, if it is a conversation between two people, the chances are very high that they will not really keep on changing the answers. They will not really put a lot of fillers. But if it is a conversation, let's say in the third part, yes, third part, when the conversation is between more than two people, it's a pretty high chance that the scope of answer is going to keep on changing. Here, do not write the first thing that you hear, especially if you put, let's say, if you are really attentive, you will see the intonation changing, right? If it is a question, the chances is whatever the information is there in the question, the answer will have something changed. So please like practice active listening. Note taking is something a lot of people really can't do, but if you are someone who can listen and write down at the same time, write down the important notes. Okay, like for example, you read the question, and in the question you knew that this term is going to be in the question and in the answer as well. You can write down in the notes, and this particular technique actually is very handy for people who are going for pen and paper, because you get 10 minutes to get write down the answer on the answer sheet. But for computer based, instead of note taking, practice active listening, because you don't really get any extra time, right? So these are some tips that you can follow. Coming to the next one. All right. The next one is misunderstanding the context. Sometimes you do not really understand what the speaker was trying to hint you towards, the speaker was trying to allude. Sometimes you cannot really understand a part of the conversation, and hence there's a lot of uncertainty in the answer. For example, if we look over here, there's an example. I recently started using Pomodoro technique for my study sessions. It's been incredibly helpful. The technique involves breaking study time into 25-minute interval and short breaks in between. It's supposed to improve the focus and productivity. Initially, I was skeptical. Initially, I was skeptical. That means there is going to be something that changed the answer. I was skeptical, but now I see a significant improvement in my concentration and the amount of work I can accomplish. Now there is two problem over here. There are two things that you have to keep in mind. If you are someone who don't really know the meaning of skeptical, here you will get a little confused, because if you don't really know the exact meaning of a term, especially in IELTS, then since it's an exam sitting and you don't really know what this particular term is about, here you get a little agitated. But remember, there's a technique that you can use. If you don't understand the word, move ahead, read some lines before and some lines after. Maybe you don't really know what's the meaning of the word skeptical, but you do know the meaning of initial. You do know, after that it says, now I see a significant improvement. So that means before they were not really sure about something, but now they have seen an improvement. So whenever you don't really know the term, make sure that you are reading ahead and after, like prior to that particular word and after that. So to you here you will get an overall idea, if not the exact word. So here, if you look at the question, it says, why did the student initially feel, what did the student, it's not why, it's actually what, this is a typo. What did the student initially feel about the Pomodoro technique? She was excited, she was skeptical, and she was already using it. Now, if you write she was excited, it will be an incorrect answer, because initially that means in the beginning of the time she was skeptical. Now, here they have given you skeptical as the word. There's a lot of chance that they will not use the word skeptical, they will use its synonym. You could say, yes, Alsaba, I think you want to say something.
No, sorry, it was by mistake.
It's okay. So initially, they might not use the exact word for skeptical. They would use another word for it, uncertain, confused, or whatever, so doubtful. So you need to know the synonyms of these words as well. So make sure that you do not miss out on the context of the answer, because if you do so, again, the answer is going to be an incorrect one. All right. Now, how can we stop, or what can we do to avoid avoid understanding it in a different context? The first thing that you can do is listen to the introduction. If you listen to the introduction, you will have an idea, you will know what basically is the context of the whole audio. The next is identify speaker's intent. Sometimes the speaker is pretty sure, right? They are very certain. Here the answers will not really change, but if the intonation in the speaker's audio is such that it shows that the speaker is a little confused, or is not really certain about the answer, that means it here the answer will definitely change. See, look out for context clues, see the information that binds the whole audio. If you look closely, you will be able to find out what are these context clues, and they actually come handy in the listening section. And practice inferences. Inferences is basically when you try to put two and two together, when you try to make an educated guess. For example, if this will actually be only practical if the term is such that you know the answer for. For example, the question says, my phone number is dash. So you know that here, whenever they're going to give you any digit, it is going to be the answer. So sometimes when you can predict the answer, make sure that you actually do, and avoid assumptions based on your knowledge. Do not really write down the answer until and unless you hear it in the listening section of the IELTS. You hear the speaker saying the exact word or the term. Do not write down whatever comes to your mind. So these are certain things that you can do. The next is writing answers too quickly. Most often than not, what happens is, because we are in a rush of finishing the particular module, we are in a rush of finishing that particular part, we write down the answers pretty quickly. Here, what happens is you make two things. You will make a spelling error because you were in a rush. The next is there are chances that you might miss out on details that are very imperative. And the last one is you might not really understand the whole idea of the information. So while listening to the audio, as I told you earlier, also, you don't really have to listen to everything. Just restrict yourself to the 10 set of questions. But whenever you come close to it, do not really just write down the answer and move forward, because there are chances that the answer will change. So unless and until that particular context of the audio is done, you are very sure about this answer, do not move to the next one. And also, there's one thing that you can do is, instead of focusing on only one answer at a time, read two answers. Like, let's say there are five questions. So instead of only focusing on the first one, you read the first question, you read the second question also. Because let's say, God forbid, you could not really find the answer for the first one, you know what is in the next question, right? You're very aware of what needs to be done in the next question, and then realignment is possible. Because IELTS follow this, the listening section, it follows a pattern. It is like, it follows a chain order. So if you are aware of two questions, even if you missed out on one, you can realign yourself easily. So at one particular time, do not just put your whole focus into one answer. Make sure you're aware about what's there in the next one, what's there in the next one. So that is the reason why listening, when you are given the time to read the question, you actually familiarize yourself with both instructions and what is there in the question itself. All right. Till now, do you have any question or any doubts? Is everything clear? Do you want to ask something? Okay.
Usually questions and answer is being asked in sequence, like what comes in audio and sequentially. Question is also being asked in that proper sequence, or like it may go up and down.
No. In the listening section, the best part is everything comes in a sequence. So if it is one, if they have written one, the answer for the first one will come initially, and then the next one, and then the next one. So the listening section is designed in a sequential manner. And we have one more question. Monica says, most of the time I make mistakes in the MCQ. See, yes, the MCQs are pretty confusing, but the thing is that what you can do is, they you can use the elimination method. We can get in depth about it if you join our classes. But the let me give you the crux. The first thing is, in the MCQ, you know that the answer will either be announced sequentially, or they will, in first glance, they will give you the correct answer. So what you have to do is, when they give you options, like when they give you the question, make sure that you're reading all the options at once. You don't wait for the audio to commence and then simultaneously you read the answers, because then simultaneously you read the options, because then what happens is you'll forget what the speaker said. So when you're given the time, make sure, if you can use note taking, make sure that you write down the options and they're just okay. Let's say the first one says come in the particular place, so you write down the first is come. The next one says you cannot do it, so you write you can't. Because if you write the context of the answer, this is again, if you can practice note taking, you will know what were the options crux, and when you hear the audio, it will be easier for you to mark the actual answer. But if you cannot really do that, you can use elimination method, because if they don't give you the correct answer at one glance, what they will do is they will repeat, they are going to read the options. Okay, so once they say no, that's not correct, eliminate that option, and then whatever you're left with, you'll have less, like you will really not have a lot of things, you will have lesser things on your plate. So you can use this method. Now coming to the next one. Okay, all right. I think we can jump this one. All right. Not checking for grammar. As I already told you, that it's very imperative for you to write down the correct answer, but not only in terms of the spelling, but also the grammatical portion of that answer has to sit well. So do not really if you are writing the answer, make sure it is not in the correct, sorry, in the incorrect form. It should have the correct tense. If the word requires pluralization, you have used it. If the question was supposed to be answered in one word form, you wrote it down correctly. And the next problem that is very prominent again is when a lot of students, they misalign with sentence structure. So sometimes you will have to change the context of the grammar, but you cannot really change the answer. For example, let me show you. So here, don't ask me about the instruction because there isn't any. I forgot to include that. So here you will hear a you will hear a lecture about the benefits of exercise. Regular exercise can help to improve cardiovascular health, increases muscle health, and boost mental well-being. It is recommended that adults engage in at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise each week. Now the question is, regular exercise helps to improve cardiovascular health, increase muscle strength, and dash well-being. So, what do you think will come over here?
Boost.
Are you sure?
With an S.
That's correct. So, if you write boost, it's going to be an incorrect answer. You will have to see whether it is sitting perfectly well. So, the correct answer would be boosts with an S. That's correct. All right. Now, there are certain tips that you can use to avoid grammar mistakes. The first is always understand the context of the sentence. See if what is there before the blank, what is there after the blank, what kind of part of speech or which part of speech is needed, because it's not very frequently used, but at times you will have to change the grammatical portion of the answer to a very wee bit. Okay. And the next is check pluralization. See if let's say if there was an inclusion of scissors, and if you write scissor again, it's going to be an incorrect. So you need to know the terms for, let's say, what are the plurals of this particular word, what are the singular of this particular word, and you don't really have to do too much work. You can just use chat gpt for it. You can just generally search for words and their singular and their plural context, and just go through, like, give it a rough read, and you'll have it in your brain, in your mind. The next is practice grammar. If somebody promises you that, even if you're not really if you're someone who really cannot fathom the basics of grammar, we will make you crack the IELTS. It's not possible, because it's not restricted to only the speaking or the listening section. Grammar is going to be there continuously. So you need to work at least on the parts of speech. You need to know what is present, past, and every, like, future tense and everything. If you're not aware of the fundamentals, chances are pretty bleak that you will be able to get the desired band score. It's as simple as that. And the next is proofread. Basically, in proofreading, what you do is, once you've written the answer, once you have written the answer, make sure that you read again, see if there is any spelling mistake that you made, because most often than not, this is one aspect that leads to a reduction in band score. You knew the term correctly, but you could not really explain the correct explanation. You could not really explain it with the correct spelling. Then again, you will not really get the desired band score. So these are certain things that you have to keep in mind. I hope it all made sense. if you have any more questions or if there is anything that you could not understand, please ask me now. Yes, please. And also, specifically, a lot of people they have issues in the map based questions. In the map based question, what you can always practice is see, you should know the difference between spatial directions and the normal directions, like the north, south, east, and west, and also what do they mean when they say adjacent? What do they mean when they say opposite? What do they mean when they say next to? These things you should be very clear of, because directions is something that is very common in the listening section. And also, if you can visualize yourself moving alongside with when the audio plays. For example, if they're saying you are going straight, imagine yourself going straight. Or if you're going for pen and paper, you can always use your pencil, move the pencil as per the audio. If it says, let's say you're going straight, take the pencil straight. If it says from now you take towards the east, move towards your right. So in this way, you will know the exact locations. And also, make yourself familiar with the places that are already there, because throughout the audio they are going to use those places for you as your contextual cues. For they will tell you, let's say there's a mention of you can see a car park in the western side of the map. So they will say from the car park which is on the western side of the map, you go to the northeastern side. If you don't know where is west, and forget that, if you don't really know where is car park, you will not be able to of course figure out. So when they give you some time to read the map, make sure you do it. So these are certain things that you have to practice. Now if you have any questions, and if you're uncertain about anything, you can please ask. Is everything clear? Any questions or any doubts that you have? All right, I think I'm pretty much done. We have Raza sir here. If you have any questions for him. All right, thank you, Mohit. If you have any more questions, you can ask either of us.
Oh, hey everyone. I hope you are all are doing well. Okay, so Azra, we have a very great session today. As I can see, a lot of students have queries and that's been resolved. Yes, guys, any query, any concerns, please feel free to ask. We are happy to answer. Is there anyone have any query? Yep.
All clear.
Is it all clear?
Yeah, it was good session. It's all clear.
Great. Thank you for the response. Okay, guys, I need to add something. I have mentioned something on the chatbot. Okay, so basically, there are a lot of students who have, different predictions about the IELTS. And if you talk about the listening skill, which Azra ma'am have discussed about it. So basically, IELTS listening is a test attention, not intelligence. It's not to check the intelligence. So basically, most mistakes are from the carelessness, not a lack of skill. So train yourself and focus on prediction and the accuracy, and your band score will rise. Okay, how to do that? We train these things in our regular IELTS classes, which we conduct Monday to Friday. Okay. And if anyone have any exam fall in coming week, in few days, so they can have one mock test with us. So we can give some idea if someone is lacking in any of the skills, we will help them out accordingly. Okay. Yes, guys. Anything else? Yes, please. Anyone? Okay, we have a message from Monica, and she's having exam on 13th. Okay, all right, that's great. So, Monica, you're having IELTS academic or IELTS general? Okay, IELTS academic. All right. So I will just have a small question to you, Monica. This is a very, first question comes from the examiner. Okay, so the question to you, Monica, could you please confirm your name? When the exam starts, for you have to represent your passport and you have to confirm your name. So examiner asks, can I have your name? Could you please confirm your name? I just want you to type here so that let's check it out. What to answer, what answer you have. A lot of students, we discuss with a lot of students, we train a lot of students. So this is a very, my name is Monica. You can address to Monica. My name is Monica, right? Okay. All right, that's completely fine. Yes, this is how we answer, but in a general way. But in IELTS, there's some different strategies required. Let me just type it for you so you get a bits of clarity. Okay. Okay. So my given name is Monica and family name is Rani. You can call me Monica. Okay, so this is how we have to represent ourselves. If it's Rajesh Kumar, if someone asks from Rajesh, examiner asks the name from the Rajesh, you can say, sir, my given name is Rajesh and family name is Kumar. You can call me Rajesh. Okay, so these are some tricks, we tell our students, and that's what, examiner looking for. Then that's what they're expecting from you to answer in a way. Okay. So if anyone wants to, crack the IELTS in the very first attempt and wants to score 7.5 or more than 7 bands in IELTS, they can, enroll themselves in our IELTS classes. First, they can have a demo either with the Azra ma'am or me. And if it's fine, suitable for you, if it find really helpful for you, then you can join the classes. Okay. And yeah, so that's all from me, Azra.
All right. I think these were some great tips. And I'm sure that you had this session and it was useful. If you have any more queries, you can ask. Otherwise, we can call it a day.
Excuse me, ma'am. I just wanted to confirm with you all. Do you have one-to-one session?
Yes, we do have one-to-one
It's
session.
group.
We do have
Because I'm
one-to-one
looking for
classes.
a higher band score, and
Absolutely.
I haven't given IELTS before.
Okay, this is your first time, right?
Yeah, I'll be giving it for the first time.
It's El Saba Memon. Okay.
Al Sabah.
Okay, El Saba, I will call you after the session and discuss about one-to-one.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, we have a query from Mohit. So I want to know all about exam type and pattern. How can I book it? Uh, there's a way to book the exam. So what I will do, Mohit, after this session I will call you personally and help you out accordingly. Okay, just try to understand your requirements and then we'll help you out to book the exam and other things as well. Okay, sounds good.
All all right, then let's call it a day.
Yeah, all right, thank you so much. All right, thank you, bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.